The record room opened over 30 years ago. Myself and Kevin and Jerry Tahany, a good friend of ours who died last year, opened it up at the top of High Street. And we've been in business 30 years selling music of all descriptions. We have a small record label. We've over 50 releases on it, and the first of those was with Dervish. We did the Boys of Sligo album with those, and we've diversified into different types of music from traditional music. We have a rock band, Indian, on it. We did the first single with IOU, which became Westlife. We have country and Irish singers. We have fiddle players, flute players, sean-nós singers, the whole mixture on the label. So it's a little microcosm of the Sligo style, and that reflects in a lot of the music that we've recorded. To me, the Sligo style is it's like somebody having an accent. When you hear them, you'll know the actual little nuances and the little grace notes and the things in the tunes, and even the tunes themselves. Musicians from Sligo will always play a certain variety of tunes. Like, you won't hear them playing very many slides or, even polkas, but you'll find them playing reels and jigs and stuff like that. One of the first recorded traditional musicians was Michael Coleman in the States in the early 1900s, and he was a great exponent of the Sligo style on the fiddle, and he made over 130 recordings at the time, which was an amazing for a traditional musician. And those recordings came back to Ireland as 78 records, and they influenced an awful lot of people. And there are people playing today who don't know they're playing with a Sligo style because they originally listened to Michael Coleman. You just have to walk around and meet them on the street at the moment. You have people like Philip Duffy and Liam Kelly. You have the members of Dervish. All of them are very good musicians. Seamie O'Dowd, whose dad, Joe O'Dowd, was one of the legendary traditional fiddle players in Sligo, and Seamie is a great guitarist as well as being a great fiddle player. To me, one of the essences of it a lot of the time is that you'll want to get up and dance. And that's there's a lilt and a beat to the Sligo style that's very distinctive and particularly lends itself to reels and jigs. And to somebody who doesn't know it, I mean, a lot of traditional music is going to sound very similar, but you'd have to be listening to it regularly too. It's like me speaking with an Italian accent or a French accent. It's something that you learn and you get to know straight away. And you'll always know a Sligo fiddle player from a Donegal fiddle player, from an Antrim fiddle player, or from a Kerry fiddle player. Generally, you will know the different styles. But it's very hard to explain to somebody from outside the country the differences, because they're very small and subtle things, and it's to do with the spirit and the way it's played. And it's not just a mechanical thing, because most of the music in Ireland was passed on by ear and not by written music in a lot of cases. So it's an awful lot of it has to do with the actual spirit in which it's played and the tempo it's played in. Sligo is a very easygoing place, and also it's a beautiful place, and it has so much to offer. I mean, in County Sligo, there's something like over 6,000 national monuments in County Sligo alone. And I mean, to somebody like me who's a bit of a head into archaeology, it's paradise. And like, you go to out to Knocknarea, to the mountain, or you go to Carramore or anywhere like that, and the monument at Carramore has been aged to pre the pyramids. And I mean, that's we're here a long time. Of course, I'm very biased, and I'd always reckon that Sligo is the best type of traditional music. And we have an old principle here: if you want to hear traditional music in this shop, it's fine once it's Sligo music. I work on the old Henry Ford principle, the other way around. But no, it's a very personal thing. And I mean, I have my grandfather and my grandmother and my uncles and would have sang, and not so much they weren't musicians, but their friends would have been musicians. And nearly everybody has a connection with somebody who today is almost a legendary traditional musician, and that's how wide the tradition was in Sligo. And it has travelled very well as well all over the world, particularly with bands like Dervish, who have become now, internationally known. And again, I'm sure if you were talking to them, they would say, the Sligo style comes out in what they do, and it makes them sound different. The crack is going into a particularly maybe a pub somewhere like Shoot the Crows, and sitting in there among people who are your friends and who can pick up instruments, and they're playing next to you and they're playing live music. And that to me is the core of crack. The key thing about a lot of those bands is that the essence of them is coming from the traditional side of it, and people like Seamie O'Dowd, who's a wonderful traditional musician, today is regarded as one of the finest guitar accompanimists in the world for any major artists. I mean, there was a night for Seamie there recently where Dick Gahan flew in to sing 3 songs for him. I mean, Dick Gahan is a legendary folk singer under any ground rules, and to think that he taught enough of Seamie to come and play in that. But the other acts like Rack House, who are amazing young guys to see playing bluegrass or Cajun music at that level, and they're exceptionally good at it. But a number of those lads would be traditional. Some of them would have no traditional thing. But again, it's the history of music that they'd have and have listened to. I'm putting together an album called Sligo Rocks, which involves, I have people like Tabby on it, I have people like Seamie on it, I have bands like Indian and the Nervous Animals. Rackhouse Pilfer, the band, are a bunch of very good young guys who some of them, their tradition would be in Irish music, some of them would have no tradition in Irish music, but it's very unusual to hear them playing the American bluegrass and country style today. But again, a lot of it comes from the tradition of Irish music. And then you move on to people like Seamie O'Dowd, who is a wonderful guitar player, but again, his original instrument would have been the fiddle, and now he's an internationally known accompanist and a lead guitar player. Tabby, of course, who's won the X Factor, is a real Sligo town man, and his history would not be in traditional music, but he would have been influenced to a certain degree. He would have a history. The Callahans, even his mother is a great singer, and she gets up and sings sometimes with him herself, so she does. But not traditional, but it would be the history of music, you know. The Moxie guys, they're another younger generation again who are coming with a very individual style, very inventive. The old traditionalists, a lot of them mightn't particularly like some of the stuff they're doing, but I think they're a brilliant bunch of young guys from the point of view that they're experimenting. There's so many of them now there at the moment that have singles out, and you have the Quakers, you have you know, there's a huge variety of young bands, but they're all going their own directions, and in the future some of those are going to be very important musically in terms of earning a living and not earning a living, and also the aspect of with young bands like that, some of them go on to greater things in terms of earning a lot of money, but also some of them go on to critical acclaim, and they all have their own different attack on the music, shall I say. Old Hannah, the major strength is the vocal side of it, and I think that's reflected again. And when you listen to Irish music and Irish music that's travelling, as in contemporary music, you look at somebody like Hosier, and I mean it's his vocal hits you straight away. And again, they're coming from a slightly different tradition. I mean, people like Sean Keane, who were originally Sean-Nós singers, and who sing contemporary songs today, and you know you're in the same tradition yourself. And I shouldn't be referring to her, should I? But you're not there at all. But you take Sean Keane as an example, who's an out-and-out Sean-Nós singer, but when he sings a contemporary song, it's a completely different angle to a contemporary song. Nobody will sing it like he sings it. And that's because he's a Sean-Nós singer. It's a very inspirational place, Sligo, and all you have to do is look at people like Jack Yates, the painter, and how Sligo influenced. I mean, he's on record as saying that Sligo influenced every single painting that he did, and you'll see the Sligo landscape and the people, and because he was a brilliant illustrator for books, and he drew fantastic, almost caricatures of the people of the day, ship's captains, people like that. He was an observer of the people. He loved the circus when it came to town. It was the performing aspect. And in a way, he reflects a lot of the things about Sligo. All of the tunes that you'll hear and that you'll hear in pubs and places like that, people learnt from their father or their uncle or their brother, and they would have learnt them from their grandfather, and so it's actually embedded in the people. It's literally in the DNA of the people. The world woke up to Sligo with people like, well, originally with people like Michael Coleman, and then you come through people like John McCormick, who went to school in Sligo and became one of the best opera singers in the world. And right through then you have Dervish who have become great ambassadors for music in Sligo. A lot of it has to be, again, I'll come back to the aspect that we were isolated. We went out into the world, and when the world heard the music from Sligo, they liked it. And it happens all the time in Ireland. If you go to any of the pubs, that is why people go to a pub and stay in the pub. They come and stay in Sligo. There are a number of people who have come to Sligo and never left.